So today we're going to get ready to do the installation of the new head in the Fiat. So we're going to go through it step by step. And as you can see, quite a cramped garage here, but it has all the room we need to get everything done. So obviously I have another head, and I'll show you that in a bit. But before you get started, make sure you have the head gasket, intake and exhaust manifold gaskets, and make sure you have a new timing belt, because all these will need to be replaced, especially the timing belt and the head gasket. The other ones, it could depend, they might still be okay, but definitely the head gasket and the timing belt are going to be required. Okay, so we got a bit more stuff off now. So this side's completely ready to go. Everything's off. On the exhaust side, the exhaust manifold's off. As you can see, the distributor's off. I'm not going to take the exhaust right off, but you can see it's loose there, so it's the head will come off nicely. That tube is off for the radiator hose. And so at this point, you know, depending if your car, how often you've taken it apart or whatever, you might want to change other components like the water pump, the tensioner and so forth, because you're this far into the car. I've changed them not that long ago, so I'm not going to bother changing them again. But just to let you know, if you are doing, you know, this type of work, it might be a good time to change those, the tensioner, the water pump, and all that stuff. So I'll carry on, but pretty much getting ready to take the head out soon. Okay, the head is out. I would put something on the fender as you lift it and take it over. Just some things might drip out, so you don't get anything on the paint, so just protect that. And there it is. So that's the old head. And what I'm going to do now is go upstairs. I have the new one, and bring it down. Now, one thing, the head's pretty heavy, so you know, make sure you eat your Wheaties, that you can lift it. If not, maybe you can use a like an engine hoist or something and attach it to it and lift just the head off, or get somebody to help you, because it is relatively heavy. So just be aware of that, and you don't want to be lifting it and dropping it and banging it. So just give it a little lift first to make sure you're okay lifting it, and then you know, I just carried it over the driver's side and walked over to the bench and put it down. Prepared the bench, made sure I had something to put it on. So there's the old, and there's the new. So we'll start transferring the parts over to that one. As you can see, the pulleys and that will need to be transferred over. Last winter I rebuilt the bottom of the engine, so the bearings, the rings, all the bushings and so forth have been replaced on the bottom of the engine. The top of the engine, I think, is harder to rebuild than the bottom, so I went with the rebuilt head, and so we'll get ready to start putting that in. So what you want to make sure of now, before you put the other head back on, is you clean the surface here very well. As I said, my engine was rebuilt. I rebuilt the bottom last year. Everything's looking good there, just cleaned it a bit. Now, all the bolts you took out for the head, you're going to want to clean them out. So you're going to run this through without stripping anything, just very gingerly. And that way you're going to get any dirt out of there. Why that's important is when you're torquing the bolt, if there's any dirt or anything in there, it's going to affect the torque. So you're going to have to clean each of these holes out before we do that. Now, another thing is the actual bolts that you have. Just grab them and put everything in a bag so you don't lose it. But actually the bolts you took out, so these are bolts for the head. I bought new ones a little while ago, so it's only the second time they've been used. And these are not the standard head. These are like the Torx head. So you can buy these, you know, all the Fiat places that sell, they can buy a new head bolts. If your car has not been rebuilt, or if the head has been there a long time, I would buy them. The first time I did this, I ended up breaking one of the bolts, and then I had to order them and wait for them. So I would order new bolts if you've never replaced them before. Okay. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to go down and make sure you're not cross thread, and then just go down with the thread maker there. Make sure you get the right size, same size as the bolt. And then just go all the way in and then go all the way back out again. And what that's going to do is clean the threads, so when you put the bolt in, you know, it's gonna have the torque exactly like you need it, because all the crud that was in there has been taken out. To give you an idea what that looks like. And if you see over here, you'll see a little, let me back up a little, you'll see a little dirt in there. So that's what you're taking out. Okay, so once you have everything clean and the holes cleaned out and everything, the tapped out to make sure the threads are nice and clean, make sure you put your guide pins back in. You got two of them, one in the front, one in the back. Sometimes they fall off or they stay stuck to the head or whatever, so just make sure you have those ready in there. Okay, so the gasket's in, it's with the alignment pins. And remember, there's no gasket glue or anything. Just make sure all the surfaces are clean. If you're putting a new head in, it should be planed already. If you're rebuilding your old head, you know, have it planed at a machine shop so that it's straight when you put it back on. Okay, it's in. Just remember, take your time. It's quite heavy, so you know, eat your Wheaties first, or get somebody to help you, or use a lift or something. But try to get it lined up and put it down as gingerly as possible, without dragging it back and forth or anything like that, scratching underneath. So just try and take your time and get it in there. And that's what that's like. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna bolt it back in. There's a very precise procedure for that. So let me just get that out, and then I'll let you know. So make sure you have the proper manual when you're doing this as well. I'm just, you know, going over some of the procedures, but there you can see the sequence of the tightening of the bolts: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And the torque should be 55 pounds. So I'm going to do those. But, you know, make sure you have a proper book when you're doing this. Okay, that's it for today. The bolts are torqued. 55 pounds. Following the steps in the book there from the middle and then working my way out. Tomorrow we'll put the timing belt back in. And then make sure everything turns okay. You don't want to turn anything until you have the timing belt in, because you don't want things to fall out of place, right? So now the head is at the same markings with those little holes with the notches lined up, so everything is the way it should be. And we'll put the timing belt on, and then we'll be able to rotate everything to see if it turns smoothly.
Well, that was a lot of fun. That was an afternoon, about 4 hours in the garage, and here it's winter, so it's really a nice way to spend a wintry day. And basically, what I did today is and one thing too, before you do this, make sure you buy a proper manual, because I'm just giving you some guidelines and going over some how I did it, about how long it's taken me. Um, but you need a manual that's going to have the diagrams, it's going to have the proper torques, the procedures. So just make sure you get a manual before you do anything this intensive. Now, so what I did today is I basically drained the coolant, got all that out, unplugged the battery, very important, because once you start moving around in the engine, there's live wires there, so make sure you unplug the battery. Then I removed the radiator and the fan, removed the hoses, then remove the timing belt cover. All right, there's a few screws on that, and there's procedures in the manuals, as I said, and things like that. Then once all that's off, really important is to put the engine top dead center. Why is that important? So when we put the new head in, we don't want the valves to hit on pistons or anything like that. So put the engine at the top dead center, zero. That way, when we put the new one in, we'll align the pulleys the same way, and there won't be any danger of damaging the engine. So once you have it at top dead center, then you can remove the timing belt, then remove the intake manifold, the carburetor, remove the exhaust manifold. I'm lucky I rebuilt my car a few times, so all the bolts come off pretty good. The pain of breaking bolts and stuff like that I've been through many years ago. Everything is kind of working well now, where everything is kept maintained and oiled and so forth. So once all that's done, then you'll be ready to remove the head, right? So you take the bolts off the head, any wires left on the thermostats, and then, as I mentioned in the video, it's pretty heavy. So make sure you either practice first to make sure you can actually lift it, or have somebody help you. But once it's off, then we're going to kind of do the reverse procedure. So this will be part one. And what we'll do, I don't know if I'll have a chance to get to it this week or whatever, but then we'll start the putting I'm going to retorque those bolts because my torque wrench, I don't like it. So I've removed the bolts since then. I ordered another torque wrench and I'm going to retorque them. And then we're going to put the timing belt back on and start putting the car back together. So that'll be video number two, which will be coming out very soon after this one, probably a week after this one. So thanks for watching.